kind of work with all of our initiatives around student financial stability and economic mobility. And we are really excited to be here today to talk to you about some resources and some things that you can do. So, like I said, I'm Dr. Lisa Phillips, and I'm here presenting with my colleague, Cassie Bird, and I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we'll get started.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cassie Bird, and I am the Success Bridge Housing Stabilization Program Manager. It's a new program for Columbus State, and it's to support students who are in need of some housing support to make sure that students are able to not have to focus on their housing because their housing is now stable. That way they can complete their degree at Columbus State.
Thanks, Cassie. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go over what we're going to talk about today, and hopefully we're going to have some good conversations and some good discussions about financial stability. I'm going to ask that we encourage you to participate as much as possible. So we want you to use the chat feature and to answer some of the questions that we're putting out there. Ask questions, raise your hand. My screen is being shared, so Cassie will monitor that chat and kind of let me know if there's anything I need to stop and share or questions that I need to answer. So we've told you who we are, and now we want to tell you what we want to accomplish today. We have three things. We want you to leave this session and be able to define financial stability. And in this context, we're really thinking about your financial stability as a student. So some of the things we're going to share with you this morning may not be where you are yet. But we're hoping that by giving you this information, it gives you something to work towards. The second thing we're going to do is talk about what steps can you take now in your life to ensure financial stability for now and in the future. And then finally, and hopefully where we'll spend most of our time, is talking about campus and community resources that help you become financially stable or support you when there's challenges or obstacles that prevent it. So to start off, and we want to see what you put in the chat today, the question is financial stability is. And what I want you to write in the chat is, what do you think it means to be financially stable? So I'm going to give you a few minutes, and if people could just add into the chat what they think it means to be financially stable, that's where we'll start off. Once we get a few.
I want to talk. I want to say something.
Yes. You wanted to say something? Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Oh, sorry. My mic was. I didn't know my mic was on. But hey, anyways, so financial stability. So I figured financial stability was that you were able to pay all your liability bills off while at the same time succeed to be able to do things for yourself, like maybe set up for a vacation, or if you have kids, be able to put like a savings account for their future college funds. I consider that to be financially stable for the most half.
I'm going to tell you that is a really good definition of financially stability. Thank you for sharing that. Does anybody have anything they want to add? You can put it in the chat or you can speak up.
We've got some answers in the chat. Someone said to hit a, it went away, to hit a hardship but not be totally affected by it financially. We have not having to worry about money and not to worry about money or paying bills.
Okay, so those are good, and I think when you put those all together, you really do get what we define as financial stability. I pulled a few other definitions, and you'll see there's not anything that we haven't talked about. The first person said, for me, it's being able to make enough money to cover my bills and then have enough to cover any unexpected expenses, like a car breakdown, without panicking or wondering where the extra cash will come from. It means that my family and I have all that we need to thrive now and in the future. By thrive, I mean beyond the basics. And so as our first speaker said, you know, it's not just about making sure that you can meet all your bills, but also being able to do some of the other things that you would like to do, like take vacations or go to school or just things that really kind of enhance and enrich your life. And finally, it's that notion of being confident in your financial situation. And this confident in your financial situation is a really important one for college students, because at times you're not going to have the perfect thing. You might have bills, you might have student loans, you might be struggling day to day, but you know that by getting your education and by taking this step now, that your financial situation is going to be okay. And so there's some confidence that even though you're not where you would like to be, you have the plan and the idea on how you're going to get there. So all of those things are really great definitions of financial stability. And it's really important to keep this in mind as we're moving forward, to think about what it is that you can do to be financially stable. And so if you build off of this, I want to give you this next definition. Hold on, let's see what happened there we go. And I labeled this an aspirational definition of financial stability. And it's aspirational in the sense, as I just said, you're in college. And so it may not be that you're able to do some of these things that are on this list, but this is not a bad list to aim for. So at the minimum, when we are financially stable, all of our basic needs are met and our bills are paid monthly. We're not behind on bills. We're not trying to figure out how to juggle money to get this paid, but we're meeting our basic needs. And as we talk about resources, we'll hit on some things that might help you balance that better if you run into problems. Having a buffer. Now, this is really, really important, but we also know that it's really hard when you are living paycheck to paycheck and just trying to make it. To think that you could have an extra $500 or $800 set aside is a lot of money, but that buffer is important. We've done studies and there's been research out there that says that when college students drop out of college because of money, it's not hundreds or thousands, it's not thousands of dollars. It's usually between under $500. So that might be that you were using your car to get to school and your car breaks down and you need to get a repair. It might be an emergency medical bill. It might be that something happened to your family, you need to put some money into that, but it's generally under $500. So that if you can get that buffer of $300 to $500, it does set you up to be a little bit safer, to give you that little bit of flexibility should something happen. We recognize that may not be realistic, but really encourage students to try and just have something set aside just in case. The next part of the aspirational definition of financial stability is pay off any debt. And I think this is important. I like the idea of being debt-free. I think it's really important, but I don't want people to be debt-free if it means that they don't make choices that are in their best interest. And so this may mean that you take out a student loan and that you have a plan to pay it back. But what happens sometimes is students say, I don't want to take out a student loan, and then they can't afford to buy the book that they need, or they can't afford gas to get to school. And what happens is they end up not being successful in that class. And when the class could have cost you $1,200, it now might cost you $3,600 because you have to retake it. And maybe you take it with a different instructor and need a new book, or it had a code and you need a new code. So sometimes it is better to take out the funds that you need to be successful in your education, knowing that you're going to have a plan to pay those loans back, than to be completely debt-free. The last two are saving and investing. Again, we're going to call those aspirational. You may not be in a position to save or invest, but if you really think about it, if you were to get $100 a month and you're asking to save 2 to 5% of your income, you're saving $2 a month or $5 a month. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot of money, but like we said earlier, if $300 can make a difference between you staying in school and not being in school, then that $2 to $5 a month or a week can really start to build up fairly quickly. So when we talk about financial stability, we talk about it with the caveats that we've given, that we recognize that as college students, you may not meet all of the definitions laid out, but we do want to talk about how you might get there. And so when we talked about it, we said 5 steps for financial stability. The first is create a basic budget. It is amazing what a budget can do, especially once you learn to stick to it. And I have to be honest, I've never been good at budgets. I've never created one. I've tried multiple times. And every time I fail at it, I recognize what a difference it would have made if I had just really sat down and figured out how to do it. So there's tools and resources, and I hope you don't follow my lead and create that basic budget and use it. Know the difference between wants and needs. This isn't always easy as it sounds because sometimes there's a lot of gray areas. We're going to talk about that. Avoid credit card misuse. Credit cards by themselves are not inherently bad, but you don't want to use them because of a want. You don't want to try and use them to fill any gaps. You want them available for an emergency. And so we'll talk a little bit about credit card misuse. Plan for the future. Think about what it is that you want to do. This may include simple things like what kind of car you want to drive, where you want to live, what kind of vacations or lifestyle you want to have. Things that you do now can set you up to have the future you want. And finally, and perhaps the most important while you're here at Columbus State, is use available resources. So we've introduced you, given you these 5 steps, and now Cassie's going to take over and we're going to talk about these steps.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, so we're going to talk first about what you should include in your budget. So if you could type in the chat some things that you already know you should include in your budget. Give you all a few minutes to do that. Oh, I see people typing. All right, somebody said mortgage, electric, water, gas, and food. We got phone bill, car payment, mortgage. Transportation costs, that's a good one. Yeah, so you guys hit most of those basics. So we talked about rent and I don't think we had food, and oh yeah, somebody said food, utilities, car payments, gas for your car, things like that are definite things that should be in your budget. But there are some things that may be overlooked sometimes. So just thinking about some of those other ongoing costs that may be overlooked. So if you do have a car, thinking about times when you have to do a car repair, or if you own a home repairs, car maintenance, so oil changes, you eventually have to replace your brakes and your tires and things like that. Eating out sometimes can be an expense that's sometimes overlooked. And then cell phone plan, if you have data limits. So if you go over your data repeatedly or month after month, just adding that into your budget or switching over to a unlimited plan. So yeah, and then for people who feel like Dr. Lisa said, budgeting sometimes is a little overwhelming, don't really know how to get started. A good place to start would be to just track where you spend your money. So if you, at the end of the month, look and see that you have a pattern of spending maybe like $80 a month on coffee, or like me sometimes, especially last month, spending $200 a month on Uber Eats, like just making sure that you can look at that and see, like, is this a choice that I want to continue to make, or if I want to make an adjustment with how I spend my money. And then we do have some places you can go where if you just want to create a budget worksheet, you can do that. Next slide, please. All right, now we're going to keep your fingers ready to type. So we're going to talk about wants or needs. So as some different items come up on the screen, please type in the chat W if you think it's a want, or N if you think it's a need. And if you can, just explain a little bit about why you think it's either a want or a need. All right, the first one is the latest smartphone. What do you think? Is that a want or is that a need? See, somebody said a want. Let me just move my screen over here. Want. I've got multiple people saying it's a want. So yes, we do know that communication, we need phones to communicate with people, but do we need to buy the latest one? Maybe not the latest one, as long as we have something that you could communicate with your family and friends, and, if you need to check your email or whatever you need to do on it, that's one thing. But, going out to buy the new iPhone every 2 years may not be something you need to do right now, or even the newest Galaxy. Just making sure that it's a need, but making sure that you're not going overboard when it comes to purchasing that. Let's see the next one, a car. Is that a want or a need? Somebody said both. Can be both. Somebody said need. Need. Okay, yeah. So I feel like it could fall into both. So, you know, it once again, like with the phone, it's something, if you need transportation, you need a car. I know Columbus is not very if you don't have a car, it's not easy to get around sometimes, depending on what part of town you live in. So a car is definitely a need, but do we need to go buy a new BMW right now? Maybe not, but if there's something that runs and gets you from point A to point B, that definitely is a need. Next one, a new outfit. Do we think that's a want or a need? Oh, somebody quickly said a want. See more wants, want. Okay, yeah, so this one, it's a want, but in some cases, yep, like Brianna said, in some cases it could be a need. So let's say you're starting a new job and you need some new clothes for your job. In that case, it would be a need. So it kind of depends on the context of what you need that outfit for. If you're just on Shein and you just want to buy something, that's one thing. But if you are starting a new job and they have a uniform policy and you need to get some clothes for that, that would be a need. All right, a $300 textbook. Is that a want or a need? Oh, quickly, need. Thank you all for being having so much participation in the chat. Okay, yep, I'm seeing a lot of needs. So yes, even though sometimes I remember as a college student not wanting to shell out that money for that textbook, that definitely is a need. So if that is your only option, of course, that is a need. But in some cases, if you can rent a book, if you can go to the library and get a book that way, if you can get a used book for a little less cost, that could take your cost down a little bit. But it's definitely something that you need. So that would be a priority for you as a college student. Rent or mortgage. That would be, see people typing already. A need. Somebody said want, so I guess it could kind of depending on your situation. If you have another choice, some place you could live for free, it could be a want, but generally speaking, a rent would be a need. So if you need some place to live, especially now with COVID, where most of your classes are online, you do need a safe and quiet place that you can do some work at. So we definitely want to make sure that rent is something that you're prioritizing when it comes to budgeting and your financial situation. Food. Again, we're going to easy ones now, as you see. Yeah, so food is definitely a need. That is, you know, getting basic food is definitely a need. You know, maybe going to the Cheesecake Factory every day, that would be a want. So yeah, so you do need food to make sure that you're healthy and ready to face your day with your school and work and anything else you have going on. So that is a need. And then people who are feeling a little stretched when it comes to food, we do have even the Mid-Ohio Market at Columbus State that could be a resource for you. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, next one. Is this a want or a need? A birthday gift for your child, partner, or parent? Is that a want or a need? See some W's for wants. So yeah, I think this one, it could be, it's a want, but sometimes you can make it work even if you're not in a position where you can buy something fancy. So just going out and buying them a card from a dollar store, that could be a birthday gift. Getting them, saying, you know, I know you really like French fries, or I picked you up some fries at McDonald's. That's, you know, that could give them something to show them that you're acknowledging their birthday, but maybe not buying them an expensive gift, a big Birkin bag or a trip to the Bahamas. You know, that would be a want. But, you know, doing something small to acknowledge somebody, or even if you're like, hey, I made something for you, I made your favorite dinner, this is something that you can do to acknowledge somebody to keep within your budget. All right, we got a few more. Utilities. Actually, we're going to speed through some of these so we can move along. So utilities, of course, would be a need. We want to make sure that we get your heat and your water and your electricity. All of those are on, especially in the winter months. Entertainment. So movies, bowling, happy hour, going out with your friends. That is a want, but you know, we do need time to decompress and to relax and do some fun things. So just making sure that we're being realistic with what we're doing. So how much money we're spending on that, how much time we're setting aside for that, to making sure that it's something that we want to do, but making sure that it's not taking priority over our needs. A game console. I'll actually let you guys talk about this one. Is that a want or a need, a game console? Let's see, want, want. Yeah, so actually I'm gonna have Dr. Lisa, if you could share the story that you shared earlier about a case that you knew where it actually became a kind of a need for somebody. Oh, you're still muted. Okay, I'll share the story. So she mentioned that there was a student that was on her Wii, and she was able to learn how to do Zumba through the Wii. And then from learning the Zumba, she was able to become a Zumba instructor as kind of a side job. So that gave her a little bit of income. So it was a fun thing that was kind of a want, but she turned it into a need, and it kind of helped her be more financially stable in the future. All right, and then the last one is taking your pet to the vet. So that one can kind of be both as well, depending on the situation. You know, if it's an elective thing that you have to do with your pet, that could be a just a want. But if it's something, you know, life-saving, that would be a need. So talking to your vet about kind of your options and seeing what would be the best choice for you in your situation. Yeah, I see somebody in the chat talked about people using game systems and gaming things for work. So that could definitely be game console, could be both. And yeah, I see people talking about vet is a need. Yeah, treatments, depending on the treatment that you need, it's a want or a need. So yeah, great. Thank you. Next slide, please, Dr. Lisa. All right, so 5 tips for credit card use. So first, we want to remember to pay off your balance every month. If you do that, it keeps you from paying extra interest charges. So that keeps your overall cost down. So you're really only paying back the money that you spent and nothing extra. You want to use your card for wants and not needs. So we kind of talked about that, wants versus needs. So using your credit cards for wants and not needs, because we know credit cards are not free money. So you want to stick to the essentials when it comes to your credit card. Never skip a payment. You want to always pay on time every month. You can use your credit card as a budgeting tool, so you can track what you're spending clearly, but just make sure that you pay your balance every month. And then also you can use your credit card like a rewards card. Some credit card companies do offer cards as a reward card, so you can earn cash back or get other rewards as you use your credit card. Just got to remember to use it responsibly. And lastly, just remembering to stay under 30% of your total credit limit so that your credit score will not be negatively affected. All right, and then planning for the future. So career choice. So as a student now, you can begin thinking about your future career plan. So you all have chosen a major. So what kind of jobs are available for people in your major? And then looking into the future, what kind of jobs will be available in the future? Also begin thinking about what are the salary projections for jobs in your field. So that can kind of get you thinking kind of about where you can expect to be. You know, average, it kind of gives, it's an average range that you'll get, but you can get information and guidance with those type of questions through Columbus State's Career Services and also Ohio Means Jobs. And then budgeting, like we talked about, budgeting is all about future planning. So that's why it shows up here in planning for the future. So I'm thinking about first, if you've taken out student loans. So typically it's 6 months after you graduate or separate from school, you will have to start paying back those student loans. So you want to keep that in mind when you think about your plans for right after you graduate. So it may be helpful now to start looking into internships and jobs as you're getting close to graduation. That way it'll help you ensure that you do have a job with a living wage when you graduate, and you can begin paying off those student loans right away. And then as you start your career, remember to set money aside for savings and investing. So earlier, Dr. Lisa talked about the aspirational definition of financial stability, and we talked about having a goal of saving and investing 2 to 5% of your income. So even as you start that first job, if that's something that you start right away, getting into that habit as soon as possible would be better than trying to wait until you're 30 and 40 and say, okay, I'm going to start doing this now. But so if you just make that habit right from the beginning, when you first start getting those bigger paychecks, that will help you in the long run. And then lodging. So are you a person who plans to buy a house in the future? So just thinking about that, even right now, because those financial decisions that you make now can affect your credit score, and that credit score affects your ability to qualify for a mortgage loan. So all of these future choices we talk about now, even though you're in college and may not be thinking about some of these things now, is because your financial choices today can affect your financial stability in the future. And I'll turn it back over to Dr. Lisa.
So as we talk, so I'm going to have an echo. Let me see if I can get this done right. So as we talk about what you're doing with your financial stability, and we've given you kind of this map of these 5 things to think about, what we want to talk about now is all the campus resources that are going to help you as you're making these choices and the decisions that you have out there to make. So first, I want to talk to you about food. And so we talked about that food, every one of you put food as a very essential budget item. So one of the things to remember is there's a lot of resources in our communities for food. So one of the things I learned at a session I attended last year was that if you're ever giving a choice between food and rent, pay your rent, and then look for some of the resources that are out there for food. And so one resource we have right on campus is the Mid-Ohio Market at Columbus State. This is our on-campus food pantry that is open 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. It's open Mondays 11 to 4 and Wednesdays 3 to 7. And if you go there, there is always fresh produce, fresh vegetables. We generally have milk and eggs, and then some staple items like some canned food like pastas, canned spaghetti sauces, and things like that. And so by going to the market regularly, that's open to most of our Columbus State students, you need to be at or below 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. So that's about, for a family of 4, it's less than $24,000 a year. So most of our students meet those requirements. And so if that can help you reduce some cost, it allows you to spend money that you would budget for food, maybe to buy that $300 textbook, maybe to make sure that you can get the new car because that's going to help you get to work where you need to be. The next thing we have, and as Cassie said, she's a program manager for our Success Bridge Housing Stabilization Program. This program is for students who've completed at least 24 hours, and it provides them some opportunities to support them in housing. Again, I told you earlier that when students drop out of college, it's usually about $300. That's the difference. The other thing that we know when students stop attending school is because they've had something happen to their housing, and that they don't have access to a safe and secure place. And so our housing stabilization tries to do that. Even if you don't have those 24 hours, if you're just looking for general housing resources, not that we have housing that we offer on campus, or we're not, I always tell people we're not in the housing business, but we're in the business of connecting our students to housing resources. Cassie would be the perfect person to talk to. She can talk to you about some different resources in our community that could help if you're struggling with housing. If you're a single parent, you might be eligible to live in the Scholar House. And this is a community of college students across Central Ohio. And the requirements is that you are a parent, and they have some really nice apartments that they will put you in as long as you're enrolled full time. There are some other eligibility requirements, but if that's something and you're looking for housing, reach out and let us tell you about that. And then another really exciting thing that just opened 2 weeks ago is Scholar House 3. And Scholar House 3 is designed for students who are former foster youth. So if you are a former foster youth, you do have to be under 25 years old and you are struggling with housing, come talk to us and let us tell you about how you might find a housing in Scholar House 3. The next campus resource is a really big one to me. And that's because what I've learned in life is that people who know about money get money. They always know how to get money, how to save money. And so knowledge is truly power. And so financial literacy becomes a really big campus resource. So we have lots of opportunities to learn about everything we've talked about today, about budgeting, about investing, about buying a house. we have a great series of videos on campus. So if you look at the link, and I'll put the PDF to this presentation in the chat when we're done, there you can go there, and there's about 50 videos that are 3 to 5 minute long on different topics that will increase your financial literacy. If you're someone who says, I need to know about financial literacy, but I am not going to do well if I have to watch it on my own, we actually have a class on campus. It's a 3-credit-hour course that meets most people, that is in most people's program of studies. It's BMG, it's business management. I think it's 1100. I have to look up the number because some reason it just slipped my mind. But this class is on financial literacy, and it takes you from being a college student through retirement. And it gives you a really broad overview of all of the things that you might need to know. The next thing to know is that for starting last March, we created a technology lending program. So if you are struggling with technology, you don't have access to internet, or you don't have a computer that will allow you to do your classes, and you're not in a position to buy one, you can borrow one from the institution. And I put this in the chat earlier. It's the lending agreements for there. There's no charge for those as long as you're enrolled and actively taking classes, and we have devices available. You can complete that lending agreement and get a Chromebook and a mobile hotspot. And even if you need a PC, because there's some majors that a Chromebook won't do, so like some of our business majors need a PC, you can ask for a PC. They do have those also. And so that's a really nice way to save some money, as opposed to going out and buying a laptop that may not allow you to get what you want right now, and then putting money aside to do that maybe later. Another crucial campus resource is our Office of Student Advocacy. And this is our general office that I always say, if you don't know where to start, this is the perfect place to start. But student advocacy is going to connect you to a lot of different campus and community resources. If you are looking for, maybe you have worked with Job and Family Services for childcare, this would be a good place to start because they do have some connections there. They have worked with legal aid. They've done workshops, and we have sometimes the legal aid representative, when we were on campus, would come and could talk to students about evictions and things like that. So student advocacy as a general support connects you to all types of campus and community resources. Career services, and Ms. Cassie talked about that earlier, is just talking about, like, if you don't really know what to do with your major or your degree and you just need some extra help, they're a great place to go. If you need help writing a resume, doing a mock interview, maybe you're looking for a job shadowing opportunity. Career services, and every single student has a career counselor assigned to them. Reach out to them. Take the time to go meet with them. Even if you're not quite sure what you're meeting about, it never hurts to talk to somebody about career opportunities. And then the next one on this slide is faculty and instructors. Never underestimate what our faculty and our instructors can tell us. They know about scholarships, they know about internship opportunities, they know about career opportunities. So when you're really just trying to figure it out, just sit down and talk with your faculty members. They also are very aware of other campus resources. So if you're struggling with something and you let them know, they're going to give you the connections to people on campus. So I've introduced these first 7 campus resources, and now what I'd like to hear is, have any of you used any of these resources, and if you would be willing to maybe share with us your experiences with one of these. And you can put it in the chat, or you can raise your hand. Bridget, could you talk about what you've learned with career services? Would you feel comfortable doing that?
Sure. So couple years ago, I was introduced to the career services, and I got the email saying that I'm your advocate. And before COVID, I was actually able to send her my resume, my cover letter. She reviewed it. So when I went to meet with her in her office, she sat down and said, here's what I looked at. Here's where we can improve on, make it look more clean cut and more approachable when you're sending it off to potential jobs. So it was really helpful. I'm still using that cover letter and resume today. I even posted it on my LinkedIn account. I posted it on my actual job. You can make your own website to introduce you to potential hiring companies, so that you can give them this link through Google, and it's a whole page that I made about myself, my career, my education, and I use the same resume and cover letter that I created a year and a half ago through career services, because it is just so well-rounded and well put together. Is a valuable resource, the career services.
Thank you for sharing that. You said everything I would have told you about it. And the only thing I will add, and I think your experience shows this, is these services are invaluable in terms of when you get out of school and you decide you want to go talk to somebody in career resources, they're charging you like $300 an hour to write a resume and a cover letter. And if you can get that one really good cover letter written, then you can adapt it for almost anything. So another wise use of resources is using these campus resources where they are available to you, so you don't have to wait until you're out of school and you go, oh, I'll just go to career service, and they're like, hey, great, welcome, it's $300. So great story. Thanks, Bridget. How about one more person would like to share on one of these resources? See someone typing something. And if you're comfortable, you are more than welcome to unmute and just share with us your experience. So Brianna Taylor, BT, told us, I've used different faculty and instructors for lots of recommendations. Again, talk with them. These are people who are passionate about what they're teaching, and they're also very connected to the industries, and they just kind of have a really good sense of what's going on. And I like that she says that down the road, if you need a letter of recommendation for that next job or that scholarship, having that relationship is a bonus. Like, they know you and they're very much more comfortable writing that might really position you to get the scholarship or opportunity that you're looking for. Okay, let's go on to the next slide of campus resources, because like I said, there's a lot. So, financial aid. And I will tell you, financial aid is confusing and it is scary, but we have amazing people at Columbus State that will walk you through the process. And remember, on financial aid, if your circumstances have changed, you can go back and talk to a financial aid advisor. There might be more grants available. There may be some federal work study opportunities. There's all kinds of things that they're going to help you with as you're thinking about, how do I pay for my education? How do I reduce the amount of debt that I will have? What information and steps can I do? So meeting with a financial aid advisor, completing your FAFSA. And I cannot tell students enough how important this is. Even if you think you're not going to be eligible for any federal funding, a lot of scholarships and grant applications require that the FAFSA is completed. So complete your FAFSA, work with your financial aid representatives, and ask questions. If there's something you don't understand, just ask. We put academic advisors here because I think they're a lot like faculty and instructors. They know a lot about everything. They can connect you to resources, they connect you to career opportunities. So often we have students who come in and they say, I love speaking, I want to go to communications, and communications might be the career, but maybe it's something in health services that they're really interested in, that they love speaking, and here's a chance to speak and make a difference in their communities in a different way. So academic advisors can help you identify different career opportunities. They can help make sure that you're on the right path by completing your academic map so that you know how long it might take you to get through classes. And that's really good, works well for financial planning. So another really great resource that we have on campus. We put tutoring here under financial stability also. And the reason that we include tutoring is that you want to be successful in your classes. And so if you know that you are apprehensive about your English class coming up, don't wait until the second or third test to get help. Tutoring is free. It's available on campus, online. It's available in a couple different formats, mediated through like technology. So if you know that you're going to struggle with class or you're just worried about it, go see a tutor. Don't wait till you're in trouble. One of the things that I always thought is funny is that the students who get A's and B's are the students who use the tutors. The C, D, and E students are the ones who say, I don't need tutoring. Go see a tutor. Make sure you're passing your classes the first time. That keeps you in good, satisfactory progress. it also helps reduce the time to completion for your degree or certificate, which has obvious implications. You always put the counseling center. Finances is a big stressor. The counselors are there. Finances and COVID don't mix well, so don't be afraid to reach out if you just need someone to talk to. They are there. They have lots of resources. They have resources on stress management. They'll just be there to walk you through some of the things that you're going on. The next two campus resources, I wouldn't say they're the most important, but they're very important, and these are the ones that I think get left out a lot. Check your email. Make sure you are reading your Columbus State email regularly. Why? Is because this is where and how the college communicates to you about what's going on. So when we had funding available through the Federal CARES Act, and if we were to get funding again for these upcoming terms, there will be a notice in your email. And so often when we have these opportunities for students to get funding, whether it's scholarships, grants, federal CARES dollars, or anything, we always have a student who said, I didn't know about it. And we're like, well, it was sent to your Columbus State email. And the thing that they always say, well, I don't check that email. That is how we're going to communicate with you. There is a lot of information in your email. Even if you just set a reminder on your phone once a week to go in and read it, you are going to be aware of opportunities and resources that are going to make a difference. Included in those opportunities and resources are scholarships and grant opportunities. Scholarship money goes unclaimed so often, and scholarship is free money. And I say this in every presentation I do on financial stability. Apply for every scholarship that you might remotely be eligible for. Let them tell you no. So if it says you need a 3.5 GPA and your GPA is a 3.49, go ahead and submit the application. The worst they're going to do is tell you no, and they may just tell you yes, and you might get some funds that could help reduce the overall cost of your education. So these last 6 resources we put out there: financial aid, academic advisors, tutoring, counseling center, your Columbus State email, and then looking for scholarship and grants. Can we get 1 or 2 people to share what experiences they may have had with these areas? If anybody wants to share verbally, you can unmute yourself and share. But as you see, we have a post from BT who says, I've gotten scholarships without having the needed GPA. And I think that illustrates just how applied. People who create scholarships want to give money away. And if they can't find the applicants that meet, oftentimes they'll go to the next closest criteria and look at it as that opportunity. Thanks for sharing, Bridget. I know a lot of students don't like their email at first. They find it kind of like bothersome. There's too much information in it, but just taking a few minutes a week even to read it. I would say daily, but I know that might be asking a lot, but just going through it, because you just never know what information and resources are in there. So what we've done in the past 45 minutes is we've talked about financial stability. We wanted you to walk away being able to define financial stability. We wanted you to know about some steps that you could take. So we introduced you to the 5 things about financial stability that we thought were important for you to know. And then we talked about campus resources that are available to you. And if we can reiterate anything, I would say that Columbus State is a really supportive institution. We have a lot of financial stability initiatives. We're getting some national and certainly local recognitions for some of the programs that are available and that are here for you as students. If you have questions, if you need something, reach out to us. Let us know how we can help you and where we can start connecting you to different resources. So as we go on, I want to take some time and answer any questions that you all might have. So Cassie and I will answer any questions. If you want to put them in the chat, or if you want to unmute and ask the questions out loud, we'd love to end our presentation with giving you that opportunity. Oh, there has to be one question.
I don't have a question. This is Bridget, but I just wanted to, in the beginning when I was trying to get financially stable, it was hard for me, the idea of saving money, because I figured that money could be in my pocket for when I need it. But I've had to come to terms, like, you can put money without even realize it, just have it automatically put into your savings account every time you get paid, and you don't even notice that it's gone. So I've really had to come to terms. And then when I look at my savings account, I'm like, how did I get that much money in there? Because it's going in there without me noticing it. And I struggle with it now still. Like, okay, that's $20 that I could be using for something else, or enjoying a quick meal with my family. But I know that that's long-term over there, and that short-term meal, even though it'd probably be good and it's a good, fun thing for my family, it's not going to help me in the long run. So I've really had to stop thinking about, I need that money now when I could use that money later. So it's helped a lot, the saving.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. It really does make a difference when you don't see the money, that it just kind of magically disappears, but it's there, you know it's building up, but it's not in your pocket. Any other things somebody wants to share or questions? How about just at least one more? We were just that good?
Okay, I got one.
Okay.
So I spent 15 years in the financial services industry, and I was a debt collector for the state of Ohio for delinquencies. So here's the thing about credit cards. You were talking about credit cards earlier. I told my kids, and I've built financial stability before, lost it all. I'm rebuilding again. But here's the things about credit cards. So if you get 1 to 2 credit cards, the thing about credit is if you want that financial stability, you have to have good credit. So the thing about it is you get 1 or 2 small balance cards, and you put your phone bill on one every month, and you put your, say, books on one per semester, and you pay those off immediately. And you're right, pay off the balance in full. Don't pay a portion of it, but you pay those off immediately. You're building your credit. You have to have 2 to 3 feeds going into your credit score every month to be able to build that up, to get to where you need to be to buy a house. And you need to be able to pay those off. And that's what they look at. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be it can be a $200 card. It doesn't have to be a $5,000 card, and then you continue to build that. So you have to have those feeds going in for good credit. If you're a student, and most students don't think about this in the beginning because most of them are young, but if you're a student and you get 2 or 3 cards and you start feeding that, by the time you get to your graduate degree and you're ready to go, you'll be financially stable in that arena of credit if you've paid everything off, that you can go out and apply for that first home loan or get that FHA mortgage that you need. So there are just a few things. There is a lot that goes into credit. I could go on for hours, but if you just get 1 or 2 small balance cards and you feed into them monthly and you pay those, something that you're going to pay anyway, use it for something you're going to pay anyway, and you pay that, you're going to be better off in the long run. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Rebecca. That's such important information. And I think that they don't really teach us about how we build credit and all the things that go into it in high school. And they certainly didn't teach it when I think they do a little bit better now. But that is really important information. And I think that's why some of these financial literacy programs we have on campus and are in the community that are talking now to students and to people how to build towards the future, especially if the goal is to own a house, are so important because they do provide that information. Thank you again for sharing that. Well, thank you all so much for coming to this session, for being participant, entering into the chat and speaking up. Financial stability sounds like a really big task, but it's a lot of little steps and it's a lot of using the resources that are available to you. So please make sure that you tap into the campus resources that are out there. Reach out and ask questions if you have them. Everybody on campus knows how to find us in financial stability. So just reach out and ask us, and we'd love to be there to help you with things. I'm going to put in one shameless plug for financial stability. We do have some positions that are open at the Mid-Ohio market at Columbus State. If any of you on this call have federal work study and are looking for a campus job, it's about 15 to 20 hours a week. It is meeting now. We are actively on campus, but it is a great opportunity to work on campus, connects you to resources, gives you a nice wage and really great opportunities, and you get to learn more about food than you ever thought possible. So if you're looking for a job, please go and look at the student employment information or the employment information on Columbus State. It's the Mid-Ohio market at Columbus State market assistants that we're hiring for right now. I'll end with that, but I'll turn it over to see if Cassie has anything she'd like to share.
I don't have anything to share, but just wanted to say thank you for everyone for participating and for joining us. And like Dr. Lisa said, if you have any other questions or especially if you have any concerns about housing, please feel free to reach out to me or to Dr. Lisa or anyone in the student advocacy office, and it'll definitely come to me.